My family had a rule that made no sense to me as a child. After dark, we were never allowed to use the front door. Not to leave, not to enter, not even to open it an inch. If someone knocked, we were told to stay quiet, turn off the lights, and wait until the knocking stopped. No matter who it was, no matter how long it lasted. I grew up thinking it was just one of those strange family traditions, like not whistling in the house, or never talking about certain relatives. My parents never explained it. When I asked, they would exchange a look and tell me, "You'll understand when you're older." But the older I got, the more afraid they seemed, especially after sunset. Our house wasn't isolated or rural. We lived in a normal neighborhood, with other homes close enough that you could see porch lights through the windows. But our front door was different. Heavy, solid, always locked after dusk. My father installed extra bolts that only locked from the inside. My mother would check them every evening, like a ritual, running her hand over the doorframe as if counting something I couldn't see. What bothered me most was how my parents reacted to knocking. During the day, it was normal. Neighbors, deliveries, friends. But at night, even the faintest sound from the front of the house would freeze them. One soft tap, and my mother would go pale. 2 knocks, and my father would silently stand up, turn off the nearest lamp, and motion for us to stay where we were. No talking, no phones, just listening. Sometimes the knocking sounded normal. Other times, it didn't. It was slow, deliberate, like whoever was outside knew exactly how thin the door was, knew we could hear them breathing on the other side. Once, when I was around 12, I heard someone whisper my name through the wood. Not shouting, not calling out. Just my name, spoken calmly, like they were standing right next to me. I started to notice something else as I got older. We were the only house on the street that never used the front door at night. If we came home late, we parked, walked around the side, and entered through the back. If guests stayed too long, my parents would insist they leave before sunset, and if they didn't, we locked the front door and pretended the house was empty. The night I broke the rule, my parents weren't home. They had gone to a late dinner, and I was 17, convinced that the rule was just fear passed down through generations. Something old and irrational. I remember standing in the hallway, staring at the front door, feeling stupid for being nervous. It was just a door. Just wood and metal. There was a knock. 3 slow taps. Not loud, not urgent, perfectly spaced. I should have ignored it. I knew that. Every instinct told me to stay still. But something about the knock felt expectant, like it wasn't asking to be let in, like it already knew it would be. I walked closer. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I didn't turn on the light. I didn't speak. I leaned toward the door and whispered, "Who is it?" There was a pause, long enough that I almost convinced myself no one was there. Then a voice answered, calm, familiar. It sounded like my father. He said my name exactly the way my dad always did. Not rushed, not emotional, just normal. He told me he'd forgotten his keys. He told me to open the door. He told me everything was fine. But something was wrong. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text message from my dad. It said, "We're still at the restaurant. Don't open the front door." The voice outside kept talking. Patient, polite. It never raised its volume. Never sounded angry. It just kept repeating that it was cold, that it needed to come inside, that rules were for children. As it spoke, I noticed the handle beginning to move. not turning, just testing, gently, like fingers exploring a lock. I backed away. Every light in the house was off now. I stood there in the dark, listening to the voice slowly change. It still sounded like my father, but the words stopped making sense. It began describing things inside the house. Where I was standing, what I was wearing, how close I was to the door. The knocking stopped. The handle stopped moving. After a long time, I heard footsteps walking away from the porch. When my parents came home, they didn't ask what happened. They looked at my face, saw the door still locked, and nodded. My mother slid down the wall and started crying. My father checked every bolt twice. That night, they finally told me the truth. The rule wasn't about strangers, or burglars, or fear. It was about something that comes when it's invited. And once it enters through the front door, it never leaves the same way it came in. I thought my family's rule was extreme until I saw what happened when someone else decided it didn't apply to them. Years later, after my parents moved out of that house, a new family bought it. We stayed in touch at first. Friendly messages, small talk. They joked about how old-fashioned my parents were, especially about the locks on the front door. Extra bolts, reinforced frame, no doorbell. They removed most of it within the first week. A month later, the mother called my mom late at night. She laughed nervously and asked if there had ever been issues with people knocking. My mom didn't laugh back. She asked one question instead. "Did you open the door?" There was silence on the line. Then the woman said no. "Not yet." My mom told her to keep it that way and hung up. They didn't listen. The new family had a teenage son. He liked sneaking out at night, using the front door because it was quieter. He told his parents he heard knocking sometimes, but they assumed it was neighbors, drunk kids, animals. One night, close to midnight, he came home and found the front door unlocked. That alone should have scared him. He later said the house felt wrong, too quiet, like someone was already awake inside, waiting. The knocking came from outside first, slow, careful. 3 taps, just like I remembered. He didn't hesitate. He opened the door without checking who was there. No one stood on the porch. No cars. No footsteps. Just cold air and darkness. He shrugged and stepped back inside, locking the door behind him. That's when the knocking started again. This time, it came from inside the house, from the hallway, from behind him. He ran to his room and locked the door, texting his parents in a panic. They arrived 20 minutes later to find the front door wide open again. The bolts they'd removed were lying on the floor, neatly placed side by side. The boy was found in his room, shaking, repeating the same sentence over and over. It knew my name. It knew my name before I told it. They moved out within days. The house was sold again. And again. Each family removed the locks. Each family stopped using the front door after dark. Not because someone told them to, because something taught them. The house still stands. From the outside, it looks normal. Warm lights, fresh paint. A perfectly ordinary front door. But if you ever walk past it at night and hear knocking, don't answer. And whatever you do, don't let it learn your name. After hearing about the families before me, I thought the house might be empty now. I moved in with my younger brother, excited for a fresh start. The front door was still heavy, solid, and of course, locked after dark. I laughed at the old rules at first. "What, a ghost is going to knock?" I said to my brother as we unpacked. We joked, we made noise, we turned on every light. Everything felt fine, until the first night. I was lying in bed when I heard it. 3 slow taps, not outside the house, not on the porch, inside, coming from the hall near the front door. I froze. My brother was already asleep, or at least I thought he was. I called out softly, but there was no answer. The tapping stopped. I waited. Then a whisper. My name. Drawn out, slow, familiar, like someone who knew me intimately, who had been waiting for me to break the rules. My heart pounded as I realized the whispers weren't coming from anywhere I could see. They were coming from behind the door, from inside the walls, from the shadows themselves. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in bed, clutching my phone, listening. Every creak, every draft of wind through the windows sounded like footsteps. At 2 a.m., the tapping started again. This time, it was accompanied by a soft scratching, like nails dragging across the wood. The air grew colder. I wanted to run, to leave, but my brother was in the next room, and I couldn't risk waking him. By dawn, it stopped. The house seemed normal again, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had watched me all night. That morning, I found the front door slightly ajar, even though I was sure I had locked it. No footprints, no signs of forced entry, nothing. Just the door, open enough to remind me that the house's rule was still alive, still watching. From that night on, we never used the front door after dark. And sometimes, even when the lights were on and the hallway seemed empty, I could still hear it. 3 taps, slow, deliberate, and my name whispered in the dark.